Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hi, welcome back to the Blogger Genius Podcast. The response to our new Shopify pop-up has been terrific. If you have a Shopify store, definitely go try it. Try our pop-up on your blog to get people to shop on your store. If you have a friend and know somebody who has a Shopify store who could benefit from it, please tell them about it. It's all part of your subscription, and it takes, less than a minute to set up. All you do is just put your Shopify URL into the box, and the pop-up will have your most recent products show up on it. And as you know, MiloTree is the easiest way to grow your social media followers, your email list. Head to MiloTree.com, sign up, and get your first 30 days free. Today, I am interviewing Nicole Ketchum, and she is one of the first people I've interviewed who has built a physical good, a real product that she sells. She sells these beautiful chandeliers. You'll hear all about it. She is incredibly honest with her journey. If you are thinking of creating a physical good, you definitely want to listen to this. And even if you're not, I think her story is incredibly interesting and insightful. So without further ado, here is Nicole Ketchum. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Oh, wow. So we met because you reached out to me about coaching probably a year ago?
Yes. And it was a great call. You helped me in so many ways.
Oh, I'm so glad. And I think it's really cool because you are one of the first people that I am talking to on the podcast about creating a physical product. And so can you tell what your product is and how you got started? And, I'm sure my audience will go and check it out.
Yes. So I design acrylic chandeliers. That's the medium I currently work in. And I had the idea in late 2011 and spent 2 years researching the idea that I had before pulling the trigger. And I made a prototype in late 2013 and threw together a website and crossed my fingers and launched. And 4 years later, here I am.
Okay, now first of all, what is an acrylic chandelier?
So basically, we created a design where two pieces get cut by a laser cutter, and then there are slots on each of the pieces of the chandelier, and you take the two pieces and you slot them together, and they have holes at the top where you put two S-hooks, and you can hang it anywhere, and you can hang it with chandelier chains that you can get at like Home Depot or Lowe's, or even fishing wire. They're very lightweight, which I've said a lot, but actually people still ask me quite frequently, and they're only 3 pounds. So
okay, and they don't light, just so you know. They're decorative.
They're decorative, and it's a new concept. I apparently designed a product that didn't exist. So
okay.
So that's very exciting, but it's also been a learning curve. And they're perfect because acrylic is basically plastic, and it can go inside or outside. It can go below 20 degrees. It can be in hot weather. You can put it up anywhere that you can hang. They're perfect for weddings and parties.
Exactly. That was my next question, which is what is the use case? Where do people use them?
People use them for parties, events, weddings. I use them in my child's playroom. They can go over a bathtub. They can go over a bed or a nursery.
Right. I'd like to put one in my daughter's room.
Yes, I have one hanging over my daughter's bed. So.
Okay, and your background though is in product design, right?
No, actually, I went to school a long time ago for English, and then I worked in marketing and graphic design.
Graphic design, okay.
Yeah, for a very long time, but it was more like corporate design. So my fantasies were I wanted to design wallpaper and home goods, and in reality I was designing annual reports.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but I eventually started to make that leap on my own, and I eventually transitioned into surface design, and I was designing patterns for stores, and it still didn't feel like it was enough for me. And I interviewed for Michael's Corporate a long time ago in 2011 when my husband and I had lost our jobs from the fallout from 2008. And they had challenged me. It was between myself and another designer, come up with something for Halloween that's modern and that people can use. And for myself, I've always wanted to have a really fun chandelier for Halloween that I could just throw over a table. I always lived in apartments when I was younger. You know, there's no outlets in places. So that was the idea I had. And I was going to do a foam core. And my husband, who's a designer as well, he said, why don't you do acrylic? So I designed a Raven and Moon chandelier for Michael's Corporate, along with competing patterns that they could use for journals. And I presented it to them. And I believe they must have been on the cusp of transitioning from where they were to where they are now. And they said I was too modern. And I thought that was really interesting because I know I would fit now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But back then, I thought it was still a great idea, and I couldn't get it out of my head. So I spent every weekend just researching, talking to people, going to stores, and eventually harassed my husband into going to his office on weekends and working in AutoCAD to come up with the two lines that I have currently, which is the octopus and the fancy.
Okay. And what is AutoCAD, just for the people who don't know?
It is a CAD computer-based software that allows you to design in 3D.
Right.
And that is not my foray. I was able to sketch the idea, but he took it and made it real. And then we must have done that for 6 months straight, and eventually pulled the trigger and ordered a prototype through a company that I found on the internet. And then we got to see in real time how that worked.
Okay. And was this a company in China? Was it here in the United States?
It's in Las Vegas. They're such a great company. I worked with them when we made our Disney chandeliers.
Okay.
So then we realized that we had a product and it actually worked.
Right.
And so I ordered 2 prototypes, one for the octopus and one for the fancy. And then I basically, and I totally believe this and I push it all the time, is fake it till you make it.
I love it.
I changed the colors in Photoshop and pretended that I had a full catalog.
I love it. Love it. Love it.
I didn't tell anybody.
Yes.
But I was like, whatever, what's going to happen? And nobody ever found out, and people started ordering. And then, I mean, of course, I changed the colors to reflect whatever the Las Vegas company had. And then I would get an order, and then I would place the order with them. And it was both time consuming and very expensive, but it was perfect for me to just start to see who my customer base was, who was ordering my product and what they were using it for. And that was really fascinating.
Okay. So what was your assumption going in, and then what did you start to learn based on what your customers were ordering?
My assumption was that they were going to be like me, where they were just going to use it for maybe a holiday. And it took on a life of its own. And my very first order was from Nordstrom for a party, and they used it on the table. They didn't even hang it. And I was shocked.
Okay.
And delighted. And I even asked them, and they said that they were just perfect centerpieces. I was like, oh, okay. It's not what I designed it for, but that's awesome. And then I noticed that party stylists, event planners, they got it immediately. I didn't have to explain to them at all. And I did have to explain to like the average person at home that was just looking at home decor. So I noticed there was just that interesting correlation and also a disconnect happening between where I thought they were going and where they were actually going.
Right. So it seems like more sophisticated designery people got it.
Yes.
And moms moms might have needed more education. Is that true?
Yes, because they don't have lights, there is that learning curve. What do you mean they don't have lights? Well, what do you do with it? Whereas the party stylists and event planners were like, oh yeah, I'm just going to put this over a dessert table.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's very interesting. So what is the price point right now if I were to buy one?
The price point for the octopus is $59.99, and the fancy is $69.99, and I have a limited edition gold that is new and one of a kind, and that is $89.99.
Got it. Now tell me, I remember this from our conversation. It was Disney, somebody like got it and was like, we want to order this.
Yes, I basically had my coaching call with you, and the very next day I got an email from Disney. I kid you not. It was insane and so exciting. And they found me on Pinterest.
Love it.
Yes. And I was like, score, I'm doing it right. And they asked me to make 21 custom chandeliers for a new store that was opening up for visual merchandising.
Okay.
And 3 different sizes. So it was imperative that I still had that Las Vegas connection. We made a 12 by 16, a 24 by 20, and a 40 by 60, which is huge.
Okay.
And 12 different colors, I think.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yes. So that was awesome. And they had a very, very, very tight dedeline.
Okay.
So I totally met that deadline, overextended myself, over-delivered, undercharged them, and they were incredibly happy when I flew down in March to see them. So they ordered at the end of December, almost mid-December, and February 1st is when they needed it.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
yeah.
But wait,
Yeah.
wasn't there somebody else who had discovered them too? Maybe it was Nordstrom. I don't remember, where you were like, ooh, like early traction.
Yes, I've actually had a lot of different celebrities use them.
Okay, maybe that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, early traction would have been Nordstrom, and then right after that, Michael Bublé's sister used them for a book party that she had written some children's books and bought a whole bunch.
Okay.
And then I got picked up by the Associated Press, and then I went nationwide, and then I started getting orders from there and more traction.
Okay. So you were weren't you looking at then factories or outsourcing in China, that kind of thing?
Yes, when I had spoken to you, I was still stuck on kind of a hump of how do I do my next inventory run?
Right.
My first inventory run had been successful, but the company then came back to me, which actually happens a lot. You can't order this amount. You have to order,
right,
thousands.
Right.
And that's how they get you. And so I had to take a step back. And after Disney, I decided to go on Alibaba.com and just tell them exactly what I need as a RFP, and then have people just kind of send me their company information. And I found a company.
So sorry, what's an RFP?
Request for proposal.
Got it. So that means you're soliciting companies to say, hey, like you're like, this is what I want to make. Can you do this? You, factory in China, come and tell me how much this would cost.
Yes. Now I want to preface that with, when you have a product or you have proprietary information, and I have all of my designs registered with the U.S. government. I can't patent anything because the slot technology is not new.
Right.
So I had to have them sign NDAs so that I could send them my CAD files that my husband had designed, because that is your proprietary information and you should never give that out willingly.
Okay.
So they had to prove that they knew what I was speaking about and what kind of product I needed beforehand. So there was a lot of back and forth of, here's some pictures of my product and what have you done? And I eventually, surprisingly to my delight, found the largest acrylic supplier in all of China, who happened to be now is my manufacturer.
Wow.
Yes.
And then did you have to place one of these gigantic orders?
I did not. My first my first run back in 2014 was for 350 chandeliers, and this new company let me just place an order for 450, which maybe doesn't sound a lot to the average user. Okay, you only jumped 100, but as far as money goes, it was a difference of 3,600 to 8,500.
Wow. And then
plus shipping.
Were you able to order them in different colors, like for your inventory?
Well, that's where they get you too. If I could, I would have done a ton of colors, because people ask me all the time, how come you don't have other colors and another product? But that's what I was given. So I had to order my bestseller, which is white,
Yep.
and a new one, which I just had a gut instinct would do well based on, I used to have a mirrored chandelier that sold out super quick. So I ordered a gold, and that was all I was allowed, and that was $12,000.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And is there, because I've heard this, you come up with something and then somebody in China sees it and knocks it off. Do you have that concern, or kind of how have you protected yourself?
Initially I did, but and not to say that our files are complicated, but they are somewhat. And it's interesting to note, as a side note, when we first designed the product, it was great, but we did have some breakage, and my husband and I could not figure it out. And his brother is an engineer, and one night he was looking at our chandelier and he was like, all these points are pointed and they need to be curved. And we were like, what? And so that whole sort of cyclical thing with our design, I'm not afraid of China knocking me off, because it's kind of intricate. And I say, if you want to, great. I have the paper trail. I'm not going to worry about it anymore. I did initially, and I'm just really not going to be worried about it anymore.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so let's talk about how you have gotten your product out there. So you built this product. And by the way, you did something interesting, which is you built this on a hunch. Now, again, you seem to manage your downside risk, meaning you didn't order 5,000 of these to start, and you started to see how people were using them so that it could inform you, or what colors people were interested in. So I love that strategy that you were kind of going piece by piece, and I love that you changed the colors on your website to see what people wanted without going out and, buying all this inventory.
Right. That's a mistake a lot of people make.
Yes, and I think there is what I like about two things that I have to give you props for. One is that you seem humble enough to know that you don't know all the answers. Like that you're working with your customers to figure out what they want, rather than I know what they want. And two, that you are scrappy. Because
yes, I am.
when we talked and you were in that conundrum of what do I do? My company that I'm working with wants me to place this huge order, and that's a lot of money, and I don't want to take on that risk. And you solved it.
Yeah, I exactly. I was almost mad. And so I took that anger and I was like, you're not going to stop me. But they did stop me for a while. I did cry for a little while, and then I just got mad. And my husband and I are like, how are we going to pay for this? And we took out a home equity, loan, a HELOC loan to pay for this run. But this run versus 25,000 plus is more manageable over 30 years. I can do this. I can pay it off.
Yep.
And that's okay. That's debt that's manageable. And so, yeah, I wasn't going to let them stop me.
I love that. Scrappy. Yeah. Okay. So how did you start to get the message out that you made this product? Whether it be Instagram, email, what was your strategy? And what is your strategy?
Well, initially, my strategy was I basically sent it to every blog I could possibly find back in 2014. And I got free press from Amy Atlas and Oh Joy pinned my octopus chandelier, and I went crazy viral.
So wait, so you sent them a chandelier?
I didn't send them a physical product. This is what's so awesome. I just sent them my website, and I was like, this is new. You've never seen anything like this. If it interests you, could you write about it?
Good
And
for
they didn't even
you.
ask. I know. I don't think I could get away with that now.
Why?
I think things have changed in 4 years. People are demanding product plus payment.
Okay.
And 4 years ago, they were like, sure.
Right. It's content.
Yeah. And so that
It's like
just
cool.
took on a life of, yeah. And it was cool. And I knew that if anything, it's different and no one's seen it before. So that had it going for it. So that's how it happened. It was just a lot of free press. And then I hit a wall after a couple of years where
Okay.
people wanted a lot of product and a lot of money. So,
Okay.
but initially that's how it got me started. And that's how my customers heard of me.
Okay. And now then, how did you, again, this is very true to social media, to what happens, which is trends come and go. People see it, they love it, but then all of a sudden that strategy doesn't work anymore. So then what did you do?
I had a business mentor who I was stressing because I'm sure just like a lot of people, they look at Shark Tank and think that, oh, I'm not making $1 million. I'm not successful. And I was stressing out bad. And he was like, Nicole, it's better to build as slow as you can and as thorough as you can versus run hot and disappear.
Yep.
So I took it to heart and I decided to slow down. I had paid off my whole debt for my first run. It was going slow, but I was like, nobody knows that I'm here because press had died down, like you had said. So I started building my Instagram out, and it's been very slow. Building my Pinterest out. I was on Facebook for a while. I've now gotten off Facebook and just focusing on Pinterest and Instagram. And now I'm trying to build my email list. And really what I did about 2 years ago is I reached out to party stylists and bloggers. And I said, here, I'm going to send you some free product. Could you just test it out and use it and maybe take a picture or two? And it's been working great.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And now some of them are my friends and they really tell me what they think about them. And pretty much everyone, and I'm not tooting my own horn, I'm just saying that they love it. And they've been telling me what colors they wanted and how they were using it. And then they're giving me the photography, which, as you know, photography is a lot of money.
Yep.
So I've been saving tons of money off of that. And that's how I've been doing it. It's been super slow, but I finally sold out of the bestseller, and the mirrored one sold out super quick. And I started getting orders from like Sugarfina and like other companies like that. And I couldn't fulfill the orders. And that's when I hit the wall and then talked to you and then decided to take out my loan and find another company. So, if I was on Shark Tank, they would be like, see you later because you're growing too slow at 4 years. But I feel like I'm finally gaining some important traction, and Disney has been able to kind of give me that tailwind that I need to keep going. Basically, they validated me, and I'll go to my grave just being so happy about that.
That's so great. Now, have you thought about the mom market, reaching out to mom influencers?
Yes, I have done that in the past, and I've even run contests, and I've been in I don't know, 5 or 10 national magazines and done contests as well, and that's worked okay.
Okay.
But just so people know, just because you get pressed in a magazine doesn't equal sales.
Yes.
In fact, it's a misnomer, and it usually doesn't equal sales.
And the hope, though,
unless you're in Oprah,
right,
and that's not happening as much anymore. So.
Right, and also then what you want is to be in a magazine and have them link to you in their digital form so that you can get some SEO juice.
Yes, I recently linked with Life and Style magazine and J14 magazine and did a contest for one of my octopuses. And it was the largest contest they ever had. There was 24,000 entries for this.
Okay.
And they wouldn't share any of the information with me.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a good learning experience. It showed me people are probably interested in free product, but also that there was interest in my product.
Right.
And B, I have to figure out at some point down the road more of a marketing budget for that sort of thing. But and also taking out the HELOC loan last year for the inventory, we decided to jump off the cliff. And my husband and I were like, we're just going for it, guns blazing. We're going to try everything. And we hired a company that is like a Shark Tank company. So they are going to be working with me to kind of shrink my chandeliers, repackage them, approach buyers, and also kind of help me get into that mom market that seems to be pretty hard for me to get into.
Got it. Now what about though trying to get into Michael's or trying to get into boutiques?
Yes. In its current form, they're 24 by 20 and the box is huge and it's not made for retail.
Okay.
So I was on this, and this told me that when I was recently on a website called Fair, and it was basically, it's trying to be a middleman and knock out trade shows. So buyers would go in, look, buy your product, and then test it out in their stores. And I was getting a lot of buyers, but they were saying, well, how do we put this in the stores? And I was like, exactly. So
what do you mean? Because you mean to put it on the shelf, it's too big?
Yeah, right.
The actual box is too big?
Yes. If they wanted to use it for visual merchandising, that's cool and that's fine. They should buy it at a full price and not wholesale.
Right.
So that told me that my direction, I stopped selling on there and I pivoted with this company.
Okay.
And they're going to shrink it down to I think we're going to shrink it down to 12 by 16 or maybe even smaller.
Okay.
So that it won't have the giant glorious impact it has now, but those are mainly used by party stylists and wedding planners.
Yep.
So the littler ones will be good for the little girls, the teenagers, college students, moms. And I want to be able to have them packaged so they can slide right into the stores. And yes, we have a whole Target market that we're looking at. Michael's, Target, Hasbro. Hasbro is actually in Rhode Island, and my goal is to get a face-to-face meeting with them and talk about designing some princess chandeliers for them. So.
Oh my God, yes. And I feel like also somehow with Disney and all of their, all that they do in terms of merchandising.
I know. I recently reached out to my contact there, and we left on perfect terms. They were very happy with me. But he also had let me know when they were there that they work at a crazy cycle. They used to work at 90 to 120 days, and now they're working 30 days for a project, and he can't even see straight. So he never got back to me, and I don't want to bother him right now because I don't want to ruin that relationship.
Right.
So I'm thinking when I rebrand and repackage, because I'll be changing the name of my company too.
From what to what? Do you know?
Yes. I just talked to the company today, but so Chandelier by NK doesn't work for me because it has my initials, and I want to move past just designing chandeliers. And it was hard for some people, even in my Instagram, to look at it and get what it was.
Okay.
Not my pictures, but just my handle.
Okay.
So we decided on Hey Girl Decor.
I like that.
And I haven't come up with the tagline yet, something like modern and colorful or something.
Okay.
Accessories or something like that. I have a trademark attorney looking now. There are several companies with the Hey Girl name, but they are like tea, jewelry, a nonprofit. So nothing in the sphere I'm in.
Got it. And is that your vision? Is your vision to build out new products? Are you working on new products? Or in your mind, are you designing them? What are you thinking?
Yes, I designed a heart chandelier. Well, it's basically just a hanging heart that slots in two. I wouldn't really call it a chandelier. And I've been dying to get that out, and I've had some people buy it just on the side, and they love it. And that's the other thing that I want to impart to anyone that takes a company and is making a product. And sometimes I'll see people, and they're cranking out product. I don't know how they're doing that because that costs a lot of money. They must have like a slush fund or something. But in reality, I've had to take a huge step back based on, monetary budget. And so I'm hoping that I can get the heart out in the next year. And yeah, I have a ton of ideas that I've had to basically shelve because I just can't do them. I can't afford to do them right now.
So what is your advice to somebody who says, I have this great idea for a product, and they see companies like Warby Parker or, these direct-to-consumer brands that have, some sort of interesting story behind them, like an away luggage, Luggage,
Yep.
or just even these like I just bought a bra from a company, I forgot even the name, but it's like, designed by women and,
Right.
selling on the Everlane, those kinds of things. Like you've got this vision. And what is your advice to those people?
I would say go for it and make sure that you love your product, know where your product fits and who your potential market is, and then just go for it.
Really?
And don't worry, just like I've had to go slower than I've wanted, and I'm an impatient type A person. I'd say slower is better. The tortoise does win
Win at the end, yes. Win the
win
race.
at the end.
Yep.
Give yourself that grace to realize that it's not a straight arrow shot, that just when you think you've climbed the hill, you are back down that hill. But don't give up. And if you hear any of those stories of the two guys that built Warby Parker or the Away Luggage, they also struggled and had to raise funds and didn't know if they were going to be able to pay everybody. And then they hit their hump and they got over it. And so I would say just get that in your mind that it's not that it's going to be hard or easy, just that you have to be focused.
Right. And that you have to, just what you said, love your product, because it's not, it can't be about the goal. Or it can't be about making this huge successful company.
Correct.
It's the long slog.
It yes, and that's like that's perfect, Jillian. It's so perfect. Yeah, it is a long slog, and you have to love it, because there's been times that I wanted to give up, but it wouldn't let me, basically.
That's so interesting. Now, do you sell on Instagram?
I am working with, let's see, I lay out my Instagram on Planoly, and it looks like Planoly has a way that I can link my shop, but because I'm not on Facebook, I'm actually kind of punished for that, and I can't put my prices on there.
Onto your Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it stinks. Squarespace is my website provider, and they'll work with, and Facebook owns Instagram, so there's all that. But yeah, that's what I would like to do. Some people, I do get customers from Instagram, but mainly my customers are either finding me online or buying through, I just got on Wayfair, so they're buying through Wayfair or House or Aha Life, and that's how I'm selling too.
And do you sell on Amazon?
That is what my company that I just hired is going to be doing next for me. I tried to do it on my own, and what ended up happening is some of my vendors threw my stuff up there without asking me. And then when I went to approach Amazon about selling, they're like, well, you're already on there, and who are you? And they're just giving me the worst time. So I'm having my company represent me to go forward and getting me on there.
Got it. And have you ever explored Etsy?
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, my brother-in-law even worked for Etsy when I was having trouble. They were absolutely horrible to me.
Why?
I went on there and they were like, well, you're not handmade. And I said, I understand that. Then they had the Etsy wholesale,
Right.
and I approached them for that. And they said, sure, send me all of your proprietary information plus all of your manufacturing. And I was like, well, I can send you everything from my manufacturer, like documents, logs, pictures, everything that's proving that they are there. They are watching the workers. There's nothing illegal or, like a sweatshop about it. And that wasn't good enough for them. They wanted my CAD files, and I said, absolutely not. And they wouldn't let me on.
That's so interesting. But now, though, I feel like Etsy will let people with goods from China, for example, sell. That it's no longer as handmade as it used to be.
Oh, I agree. I thought that was quite ironic and troubling to me that there were tons of China knockoffs and other things on there, and they were giving me the hardest time. And my brother-in-law worked for Etsy corporate.
Wow. Okay.
And they told me to never ask them again.
Seriously? Because I was going to say go back to them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe I can, but I got an email like a year ago, and they're like, you better not even think about asking us to get on. And I was like, why are you harassing me? Yeah, I don't know what happened. But Etsy wholesale failed. So maybe those people are gone. I don't know.
Okay. So now what is your kind of like, it sounds like building a product is, building a physical product, not a virtual product, is a lot of pushing the rock up the hill.
It is. And it's also you need to arm yourself with as much information as you possibly can, because anyone and everyone can take advantage of you. And I don't mean that in a bad way. And I'm not knocking China, because everyone I've worked for in China has been wonderful, and kind and hardworking. But the more you know about your own product, and that includes materials, how it's made, your files, the better you are able to push that rock up the hill.
If you want to get weekly business tips, small, digestible business tips, head to MiloTree.com. Sign up for an account. You get your first 30 days free, and you also get added to my email list. Each week, I send a little nugget that will help you move your business forward. These are tips and tricks we've used to grow our 2 successful businesses. And now, back to the show. So what mistakes did you make that you would say, oh, don't do this?
Yeah, tons. Let me see. Not knowing enough about acrylic.
Okay. The actual material.
Right. Not really the first time, not the second time, asking them point blank, what reorder number do you need? And what is acceptable to you? Finding out.
Wait, and what would you have done differently?
I probably wouldn't have used them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, they were a middleman.
Okay.
The owner is an American citizen who lives in Berkeley and owned a manufacturing company in China. And that China company also was like a middleman because they have to source the acrylic. They have to source the crystal that I put in the middle of the fancy chandelier. They have to source the S hooks, and everything has to be sourced.
Okay.
And then they send those things to you, and then you look at it and you say yes or no, this isn't fitting what I envision. And I didn't know enough back then. So when I approached this second manufacturer this time around, I had already myself sourced all the materials from China and gotten it.
Okay.
So I knew exactly what it was.
Yep.
And I mailed them a sample, which I didn't do the first time.
Okay.
I mailed a sample of what my box looked like, what the foam that holds the chandelier looks like, what the chandelier looks like, the accessories for the chandelier, so that they would not mess up at all.
Okay.
And it was perfect.
Got it. Now, do you know other people like you who are creating products?
No.
Okay. Because I was going to say, it's like, I feel like other people are probably going through a lot of the same stuff.
It's been really frustrating for me because I've joined a couple mastermind groups and everyone's either doing stationery, and I'm not knocking any of that. I'm just saying they're doing like paper goods or, other things that I'm not doing. And
Right.
at the level that I'm at, I need to find women or men that are already above me making more money and are where I want to be. And I haven't been able to find that. And I need that so desperately, that camaraderie and that like ability to say, hey, I need to source this, or did you find, I just had someone approach me who makes acrylic jewelry. And she's like, are you okay giving me that information? I was like, absolutely, because it does nobody good for you to hold all of your sources close to your chest. You're just being selfish. And I don't believe in that kind of world. So I gave her my manufacturing contacts.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that if I'm teaching a class. I'm not going to give that to everyone unless they pay for it. But because she was already making product,
right,
and was having trouble sourcing an acrylic, I gave that to her.
Right.
But I need that kind of, I don't know. I need to find people like that, and I'm having the hardest time.
That's so interesting.
It's lonely.
Right. Oh, I just recorded another podcast, and we were talking about that exact same thing.
Really?
Just in general about being an entrepreneur. That,
Yeah.
it's like the other moms at your kid's school don't know what you do, and they don't quite understand it, and it's a lot of you at a computer.
Right.
And it can be lonely. And that's honestly one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, because I wanted entrepreneurs to share the truth about their lives, right, and to talk about the struggles as well as the successes. But it's so easy on Instagram to see everybody's perfect life.
Exactly.
And it's not like that. I mean,
No.
there are moments,
Yes.
but
Oh,
the reality
absolutely.
is it's the long slog.
It is, and I've challenged myself. One of the things that I did get away from the mastermind group I was in is that challenged myself to take behind the scenes videos. So this morning I went down to my basement. It's so glamorous.
Right.
And showed them my inventory.
Right.
Here it is. When you place an order, I go down to my large basement and I get a box and I bring it to FedEx, UPS, or the post office.
Right.
And I drop ship. But you don't see all the stuff I had to do to get to that point, or the money I had to spend.
Right.
But here it is. And I'm trying to do that because people are like, well, can you get it in a pastel pink? Or can you just do this? And I'm like, that's great, but I can't, because I don't own a giant laser printer,
right,
and cutter that
right,
I can put somewhere.
Right. Right. Now, what about, though, either like, have you thought about going to China? Does that make any sense?
Yes, I would. That is one of my dreams, is to keep my manufacturer that I currently have and build a great relationship with them, and go over there, definitely.
And what would going over there give you? What's the benefit?
Just seeing your product made in front of your eyes versus just having to do everything over the computer. And we used to do late night Skype sessions,
right,
because of
the time change.
difference.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And they even walked me around the factory with their phone, so I could see that it was indeed a good place to do business with.
Mm-hmm.
That would give me, I don't know, more, not confidence. I don't know what the word is. I would just feel more ingrained with my product.
Okay.
There's a little bit of me being removed.
I get
from
that.
it.
Now, what about you investing in a laser cutter?
I looked at a Glowforge, and that's something that I could probably use to make small products.
Okay. Yep.
But I think their capability is like to 12 or something.
Okay.
We looked, my husband and I, before we took the loan out, we looked at taking a loan out for a laser cutter, and even just making them smaller, we would still need a giant size. And I live in the Northeast, you can't put it in the basement; it would seize up and freeze. So, and there's no room.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So we definitely, since he's a designer, he was able to like approach it. He builds dorms for colleges, so he was able to approach it with a very pragmatic.
Right.
And he was like, "You're just going to have to go through China again." And I was like, "You're right." So.
Wow. Yeah. Well, yes.
Oh, I was going to say the company that I hired, and I don't mind saying what company it is. It's called Idea Buyer, and they're out of Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
They have their own manufacturing firm in China, and if things are successful with them, which I hope they will be, I could probably do a trip with them to go over.
And see.
So, yes. I eventually, along with having passion for home decor and the stuff that I'm designing, I eventually want to teach other entrepreneurs this. I discovered that I'm equally as passionate about that. And because I'm lonely, I'm assuming other people are lonely. So I want to take the charge and lead because I am not seeing anybody really doing that.
Okay. So if you're interested in products, reach out to Nicole.
Yes, or go to the Alt conference, right?
Oh, yeah. So let's talk about that. Okay. Well, first of all, what are you most excited about right now in your business?
The possibilities with the company that I hired and with the connections that I hope to make at Alt conference and just the knowledge that I have. I have new inventory, new ways to sell it. Getting on Wayfair took 4 months. That was a big slog, and that's super exciting. I hope to be successful with them. So
that's great.
That's what I'm excited about.
Okay, so we are both going to be at AltSummit in March.
Tell me about yours. Yes.
So I am going to be talking about how to start a podcast in a weekend.
Oh, whoa, that's exciting.
Yeah, and so this is my first time at AltSummit, and I had Gabby Blair on the podcast, who is Design Mom and is one of the founders of AltSummit. And she said definitely apply, and I applied, and so there I am. And you're going to be a resident expert.
Yes, I'll be a resident expert at some point. I actually reached out to Gabby, just saying, "Hey, do you guys need some of my chandeliers like over a table? It doesn't even have to be my table, just for glitz and glam." So.
And what did she say?
I haven't heard back from her, but I'm pretty sure she's pretty busy.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Yes.
And one of my good friends, Olivia Omega, has been there several times and has worked in various ways with them. So I can always just ask her too, how do I do that?
Right. And if anybody in the audience is looking for a very cool design element in their house or for a party or for their kids' room, I'd love one for my daughter's bedroom, definitely check out Nicole's product because they are super cool, beautiful. They're very glitz and glam. That's what I would say. And modern.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Definitely. Okay, so how can people reach out to you and find out what you're doing, connect with you, and pick your brain?
They can always go to my website. It's chandelierbynk.com, or you can go to Instagram and look up Chandelier by NK as the handle. You can just email me at nicole@chandelierbynk.com or DM me on Instagram and I'll get right back to you.
I love it. Well, Nicole, I am, again, really impressed with your journey, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Jillian. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you in March.
If you're enjoying the Blogger Genius podcast, please subscribe, leave a comment, rate us, share it with your friends, email me at Jillian@MiloTree.com, and I will see you again here next week.